Hello everybody, Kris Gethin here and welcome back to another episode of the Knowledge and Mileage podcast. Today is a solo episode. You're just going to get me, myself, and I. The reason being is that I want to discuss with you a little bit about hybrid athleticism. But first of all, I want to thank you all so much for leaving your ratings and reviews. And I have decided I am going to highlight a review every week. So this is from Kev MR that I'm reading. It says, truly the best. By far the best health and wellness podcast out there. Always something new to learn. Kris truly works hard at informing his listeners and getting some of the best professionals on his show a must listen. Thank you ever so much, Kev MR, for your review and rating. I really appreciate that. It helps keep the lights on. It gives me the purpose to continue to do these episodes. And if you like this episode and others, please do leave a review and subscribe to the Knowledge and Mileage podcast. So today I want to talk about hybrid athleticism. The reason being is that today I had some good news through the post, and those of you watching on YouTube, you can see what I am holding up is the hard copy of my upcoming book, Man of Iron. This book comes out at the end of this month, so it is available for pre-purchase from Amazon, Man of Iron. And it covers basically my endeavors through hybrid athleticism and the endurance competitions that I participated in over the past couple of years, namely the first Ironman and 70.3 that I competed 4 and 6 months after preparing for it. The reason why I did that is because as a bodybuilder for the past 20 years and performing some type of cardio once or twice a day, I was always faced from people, haters, namely, and a lot of others that kept telling me that I shouldn't be doing cardio. It's going to impair my muscle building evolution and my gains. And I honestly believed deep down in my heart that it actually helped me recover from my workouts, getting the blood flow around to the localized areas that I just destroyed, such as my leg, chest, back, delts, you name it. So you think about it, if you do not have an adequate blood flow that carries oxygen-rich blood, oxygen-rich blood or nutrient-rich blood to localized areas, how are you going to feed the area that you've just damaged, that you've created a catabolic effect to? And you need to create anabolism within that area by providing nutrients. So I found, and it didn't have to be high intensity interval cardio that would raise my cortisol levels through the roof even more. It just had to be a steady state of cardiovascular exercise to promote this blood flow. And I honestly felt within myself that I'd bounce back from my workouts quicker. The evolution within that muscle development came quicker. And I felt better because I knew that I was working the most important muscle in my body, and that was my heart. So to defy and debunk a lot of the myths surrounding this, I like to do things at the extreme. I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to prepare for a full Ironman, which includes 112-mile bike. Well, is that 112? I can't remember now. It's been that long. 112-mile bike ride. And then, starting off with a 2.3-mile swim, a 112-mile bike ride, and then finishing with a full marathon, 26.2-mile run. I hadn't done anything extensive like that at all. I could only swim a length or maybe 2 lengths at that time before pretty much having an asthma attack. And, running, I wasn't really doing much running, a little bit of jogging, but mostly power walking and cycling. I'd only done mountain biking. I used to race downhill mountain biking, so I'd get a lot of exhilaration going just downhill and either getting a chairlift or a trailer or whatever, taking me back to the top of the hill because I used to actually race and compete in that sport. So then I had to really change my mindset. Whereas when you go into the gym, you visualize and intensify yourself to get a crazy all-out workout for like 45 minutes. Now I had to change that mindset and cross the abyss of going into the endurance realm of pacing yourself for hours on end. So during the week, I would use my workouts, my bodybuilding workouts, as a pre-fatigue method, so I didn't have to train hours on end like the typical triathlete or marathon runner would. For instance, I'd go and smash legs as I usually would in my bodybuilder's workout, and then go for like a 6 mile run. Whereas the equivalent without that workout would be more like a 10 or 12 mile run, which I didn't want to put my body through. However, on the weekends when I wasn't hitting the gym, that's when I would really get comfortable being uncomfortable by going for my longer distance rides. Maybe I'd go for what was called the loop around Emmett and Horseshoe Bend, which was about 88 miles. Or I'd go across the Oregon border, which turned out to be about 108 miles for my ride. And then I'd have a brick session, which would be my run following. But that'd only be like a 2 or 3 mile run at race pace. So it was only the weekends that I found that I'd do the typical triathlete training, but during the week, I'd only train for about an hour at a time, using my bodybuilding workouts as that pre-fatigue method. And those bodybuilding workouts did change quite a lot. I wasn't doing the typical bilateral workouts. I was doing a lot of unilateral stuff, maybe RDLs, pistol squats, and I was using a lot of balance board work. I was doing squats on a Bosu ball just to ensure that I strengthened up my ankles. I was doing a lot of stability work for my knees. I was doing ankle rotations because I've got very, very skinny ankles, and I've torn the tendons in them probably about 6 or 7 times now. And obviously being a heavier bodybuilder on skinny ankles, especially on uncharted terrain, because I do a lot of my runs on trails to take the stress away from my knees, then I had to work a lot of these stability areas. You know, sometimes I'd be on my curved treadmill with a weights vest. Sometimes I would actually be doing ankle work. I'd have ankle weights on my ankles whilst running to increase the strength of my hip flexors, because my hip flexors would give out very, very quickly because of the weight of my legs. So there's a lot of things that I'd have to do differently being set as a bodybuilder doing endurance work. So this was basically what hybrid athleticism was all about. And as I prepared for my full Ironman within that 6-month period, I went and competed in an Olympic distance triathlon. I did some 5 and 10K runs, did a couple of half marathons, then did a 70.3 Ironman 4 months after I'd started preparing. And then I did the full Ironman a good 6 months after. And when I competed in the 70.3, I ensured that I looked at the times of my swim, my bike, my run. And then when I did the full, I made sure that I paced myself slower than the time that I did the 70.3, which I did in about 6 hours, 19 minutes, if my memory serves me correctly. So I paced myself. I had those times written down on my hands, so I ensured that I went slower on the swim, I went slower on the run, and slower with my pace on the bike as well. Now, keep in mind, this was a very, very hilly track, so I did a lot of my training on a lot of hills, doing a lot of hill work. Being a 220-pound bodybuilder at 5'8", I was pushing out a lot of power and a lot of wattage, specifically on the uphills. And this was just the Quarter Lane course was one of the hilliest courses in the world. It was actually in the red. I believe you have a blue, you have a green, and then the hardest courses are the reds, and Quarter Lane was the hardest. So there was a lot of that to take into consideration, and the fueling was very, very important. So as a bodybuilder, you're going to be holding a lot more muscle mass, which is going to require a lot of calories. And remember, I didn't want to burn through this muscle mass. I actually wanted to build it. So I ate and supplemented more so as a bodybuilder on a mass gaining program as opposed to a triathlete or an endurance athlete or marathon runner, etc. I didn't want to look like one, so I didn't want to eat or supplement like one either. So I'd always take into consideration, if it was extremely hot outside, I would drink more than I usually would. If I was targeting a hilly track or the training that I was doing that particular day, I was riding or running into a lot of headwinds, I would take that into consideration and take in more calories to ensure that I didn't hit a wall, or what's called bonking, where you run out of fuel and you start getting lightheaded, and it takes a long time for you to fuel yourself to get into the system to get back onto pace again. So I always erred in a caution of eating a little bit much, a little bit more, drinking a little bit more, and supplementing a little bit more. And a lot of the help that I got in regards to the training aspect from this came from Alex Viada. Alex was my coach. Along with his team, Mike Feckick was a real great guy during that time as well. And if you've seen any images of Alex Viada, the guy is bigger than me. He's about 230 pounds, very, very lean, and is an endurance athlete himself, competes in ultramarathon and Ironman. So he'd been there before, so of course I sought his help, and his help was very, very instrumental in my progress over that duration of time. And since then, it has been phenomenal. The amount of people that have tagged me, that have come up to me at expos, who are holding medals from their 70.3 or full Ironman triathlons or marathons, and said, you know what? You made the impossibility possible. So that impossibility became an opportunity for others to go and experiment. They didn't want to leave their weight training behind and do endurance only. Or maybe they came from an endurance background and had to give up on their endurance work because they wanted to participate in strength training or bodybuilding. So then they took a step back and decided, you know what? This guy's done it. He's opened the door of opportunity for me to do it as well. And that has given me so much satisfaction. And a lot of people wanted a guide on what they could possibly do to go from bodybuilder or endurance athlete to become a hybrid athlete. So I wrote the book, Man of Iron. It's been almost 2 years in the making now. And what is absolutely phenomenal and really touching for me is that if I pick up the book and I look at the endorsements that I have on the back, obviously, it's great that I've got people like Jay Cutler, who has endorsed this book, Ross Edgley, that has endorsed this book. Two standouts here are Dave Scott, who is a 6 times Ironman world champion, and Dorian Yates, who is 6 times bodybuilding champion, or Mr. Olympia, I should say. Both given endorsements for this book, which is phenomenal because that is exactly what I wanted to achieve since day one, was merge the endurance sector with the strength training and bodybuilding sector. And I've got the best of the best here who've endorsed this book. There's other endorsements. Of course, I don't want to leave them out. As I mentioned, Ross Edgley. Jay Cutler has endorsed this book. Matt Pritchard from Dirty Sanchez in the UK, who is an extreme endurance athlete. And I've got Ulysses, Alex Viada, my coach, obviously, Ashley Horner, Mike Riley, who is the voice of Ironman. He is the person that actually announced, "You are an Ironman," as I crossed the line. So to get those people endorsing this book is absolutely awesome. So what do you expect in the Man of Iron? You have a nutritional guide, you have a supplemental guide, you have exercise demonstrations, exercise tips, you have recipes, you have a nutritional plan, everything that you would need specifically to become from a bodybuilder, from an endurance athlete, to become a hybrid athlete and participate in these sports. Like, I, for one, will never leave this behind. This has become an integral part of me now. Like, I went out for about a 25-mile bike ride yesterday on a Sunday, and it felt great to just be outdoors, not even have the headphones in, and use that as my active meditation and my therapeutic values, because as bodybuilders, we generally spend a lot of time on treadmills, Stairmasters, elliptical trainers. We don't get outdoors. We don't breathe the air. We don't have the vitamin D. We don't have our thoughts to ourselves because we've always got headphones in, or we're making meetings, or we're on the computer. So it's a time for me to get away from all those EMF rays and get away from the noise and just listen to my breath and just gain insight to my own thoughts, which you don't usually hear because you're always having to hear something else or listen to something else, or going on the trail runs, or even going for a swim whether it be in a pool or the open water. It's just very, very therapeutic, and I really wish I found it earlier, because now I know for a fact, being there and experiencing it and doing it and sharing it, that both can live in harmony. They can. A lot of people said it was an impossibility, but I always say, if you don't go, you never know. Or knowledge without mileage is bullshit. So I like to go out and do these things, so then I can share it with you. Because if this has made impact so far, that so many people have come up to me with their medals from their half Ironman or Ironman, I know for a fact that is something that they cannot fake. That is something that they've had to put in time and made a lot of sacrifices in order to get that success. And just finishing one of those events, because it's a hard task. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done. And getting over the finish line is awesome. Like, I didn't care about my time so much, even though I got a time much faster than I thought I would. It just felt exhilarating, unbelievable, just to cross that line. But what is more powerful is just the journey, the process, trying to do whatever you can to hack your bike, or hack the transition, or hack your nutrition, get that little bit better and be more efficient, time saving, energy saving. It becomes, how would I word it? It becomes so intense that you kind of geek out on it. Like, the amount of books that I read on this was probably about 30 books, and I got Triathlon magazine. I was subscribing to Triathlon 220. There's several podcasts that I subscribed to, Tower 21, and obviously the guys at Tri-Town here in Boise. I really plugged myself into that community, and the people there, specifically Antonio, who owns Tri-Town, was a massive help. He put me through FTP tests, lactate threshold tests, just to ensure that I was improving, I was going in the right direction. And he looks after a lot of professional Ironman athletes there. So the tips that I was able to get from him were absolutely phenomenal. And he actually helped me last year prepare for another 70.3, which was in Tempe, Arizona. Unfortunately, I had some problems with my knee about 6 weeks out from that event. And that was while I was running around Hyde Park. For some reason, when I got to about mile 4, something started to ache a little bit on the back of my knee. And being stupid and being stubborn, instead of stopping, I decided, well, I've only got 2 more miles to go until I've done the loop of Hyde Park. Or actually, not Hyde Park, sorry, Central Park when I was in New York. I tell you what, I've been running all around the world as preparing for these events. And it definitely did me much more harm than good continuing for those 2 miles. And so I couldn't run for the 6 weeks leading up to my most recent 70.3. So I had 2 choices. I could either pull out or just not run at all and just try it on the day. And I did. I tried it on the day, and it worked okay until about mile 5, and it started swelling really bad, so I had to stop at every aid station just to ice it, which was unfortunate. I managed to get a time of about 10 minutes faster, I believe, of what I did in my previous 70.3 a year before, but I was expecting something much, much faster. But there you go. It happens, and I just enjoyed the day of participating in the events. And that's what I encourage all of you to do, is just participate, whether it be a 5K, whether it be a 10K, whether it be a Spartan, whether it be a sprint triathlon. Just get out there and do it. You don't have to win, you just participate. And Spartan is becoming one of the big events that is circulating around the world at the moment. And I went and did one of those in the December after the Ironman, which is about 4 weeks before I did an ultra marathon. And with about, I don't know, I think it was like 12 hours notice. I was in LA at the time. I thought, well, you know what? There's one here, which was just out of LA. Let's go do it. So I did it. And I actually paced myself to begin with because I didn't know what to expect. But I was really, really happy to find out when I finished that I actually finished 9th place in my age category. And I honestly feel that I made up the majority of my time, not on the obstacles, but actually on the runs in between, because I've been doing so much running. So if you are thinking of participating in an obstacle course race, don't just put all your time and effort into your sandbag runs or throwing arrows or scaling walls. Put a lot of effort into your runs, because you'll be surprised how much of those events you are spent running uphill, downhill, flats, that you can really make up a lot of ground. So next time, I won't pace myself. I'll just go all in and see where the cards lie. But anyway, this book will be launching at the end of this month. I believe it's going to be April 30th. So you can actually go out and pre-purchase this book, Man of Iron, right now from Amazon. Now, there are going to be some specials as well. So if you were to purchase 5 copies of this book, I'll give you an extra copy for free. If you purchase, I believe, let me get these numbers right. I believe it's 50 copies, and then I will give you personal one-on-one Skype sessions and consultations. If you purchase 100 copies, now it doesn't have to be for yourself. It could be for your business, your co-workers, your friends, your families, Christmas presents, whatever. I will train you one-on-one for 12 weeks. Obviously, it's going to be online. I can't expect you to fly out here or me to fly to you. So all you have to do is take a screenshot of your purchase, okay? Take a screenshot of your purchase and then email that to info@manofironbook.com. info@manofironbook.com. And I will personally give you a holler and let you know that you've won or not. That's what I'm going to be offering for you guys. So if you're not interested in that, that's absolutely fine. The Man of Iron book is available, and that is worldwide. That is going to be available worldwide. And I will actually be doing my official launch and signing at Tri-Town on the 30th of April here in Boise from 6 o'clock in the evening till 8 o'clock in the evening. We are going to have some snacks, some drinks, some giveaways. I'll be hosting a seminar, and obviously I'll be signing these books for you there. So thank you very much for joining me this week on this solo episode. Again, if you do have any questions whatsoever, please post them. And they can be on YouTube. Obviously, this video goes up on YouTube, and you can follow me on my Instagram and ask me questions there. But please do leave a review. I'd really, really appreciate that, and do subscribe. That is the Knowledge and Mileage podcast for this week. My name is Kris Gethin. Thank you, and I am out.